Welcome to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. I am Alicia J here with Ashley Nicole Moss,
Hello,
and we
hello.
are here with an Hey Ashley, we're here with another amazing Olympic update, literally going on as we speak. It's been so fun to watch the Olympics, but we're here with an update, and we're live on CBS Sports Network. Ashley.
We are, listen, but before we get into all things Olympics, we want to remind everybody watching that there's multiple ways to tap into us. You can tap in at YouTube or on YouTube, rather, all of our social channels, TikTok, Instagram, X/Twitter, whatever the kids are calling it these days. And also, if you prefer to listen to us on audio, we are where you get all of your favorite podcasts. That includes Spotify, Apple. We do have a QR code that we can put up at some point during the show, at the end of the show, that you can just go ahead and scan, and it will pop us up wherever you get your podcast. So we don't want you to miss anything, but in case you did, we also got you covered because we're tapping into all of it right now on this show. Alicia, what are we getting into first?
Well, we have to kick this off with basketball. Literally, we're watching it right up until we come on the show because it's still going on right now. But as it stands, obviously we never want to jinx anything, but as it stands, it looks like Team USA women's basketball is headed to another win. They are playing Australia right now, which traditionally has been a rival for us. We've had a lot of amazing games against the Australian team, but it looks like that we're heading to that gold medal game. So excited. As a matter of fact, we are so excited to see this team. This is the 60th win in a row. The United States have been so dominant, obviously, in USA basketball. The United States women's basketball team, just really excited to see them head for another gold medal. What do you think, Ashley?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this a little bit last show. It's a direct contrast, I feel like, to the men's game, right? Yesterday was an absolute thriller between Team USA and Serbia. It came down to the wire, but I feel like when we talk about women's basketball, I think that American basketball specifically has kind of, or continued rather, to establish their dominance as the best players, the best league in the world. And I think that you can really see the difference in that when you look and you compare the games between the men and the women. I think that the international game is starting to come, closer to the level of competition, the level of talent we see from the men. But I think that the women have established throughout the entirety of this Olympic, saga, if you will, that they are the best, and I think that they will continue to be the best even when we look forward to 2028. It's no knock to the rest of the world. I just think that when we talk about women's basketball, it has been apparent, I feel like, for the past few Olympics, that when we talk about the best, there is not a league in any corner of this globe that can compete with the women of the United States. And it's mind-boggling when you really compare that to the men. You can really see the distinct difference between the two and how the international game is catching up to one league versus the other. And I said this last show, I think that women's basketball in the US will continue to be a dominant force for many, many, many Olympics to come. I don't have a crystal ball, but if I had to go ahead and make a prediction, I feel like that would be a safe one.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. But I will say, though, that international play is gaining a little momentum
Of
on the women's
course.
side. If you look on the Australian team, I believe that there are 6 active WNBA players that played for the Australian team this year, and that just shows you also the strength of the WNBA, right? Because we do have the top basketball players in the world, but also seeing that there are 6 international players, that shows you that there is a little momentum in that area. Not to say, I definitely don't think it's as much as the men's side by any means, but it's definitely something that we need to, keep our eyes on when it comes to that play. But do I think that we're going to be dominant for years to come? Absolutely. When you look at that final score, um, 85 to 64, of the game today, I mean, that's going into the gold medal match, and we've seen this dominance in the entire games. Every single game that they've played, they've just handled, and it's been a beautiful thing to watch. One thing about today's game that I loved was seeing Nafisa Collier as a starter in this game. She was actually someone that I had coming into the Olympic Games that should have been a starter. And I think that Coach Reeves is really seeing that the players on the team, she's starting to get kind of that chemistry of team play, and seeing that, other players like Nafisa Collier and Jackie Young, who earned a spot, that we saw her go from, the bench to be a starter. She's really starting to see that even though Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, they're amazing players and they've really carried a lot of the team in a lot of ways, but she's seeing that there are so many other players on the team that can come in, contribute, and it's really a team win. This has been the first time that I've seen all games that I've really felt like the whole team won, rather than, two players just kind of being dominant in the space. It was definitely a team win, and I'm excited to see it even more. That chemistry, that gel, all of the things that have been happening with this team, I'm excited to see it even more as we go into this gold medal.
Yeah,
gold
nine
medal
straight,
game.
9-0 for Team USA versus Australia in the Olympics. If we can go ahead and throw that graphic up one more time, speaking of them gelling together, you really start to see teams gel, or you see that full formation of gelling, if you will, at this stage. Because again, you have to remember, teams don't have a long training camp in Vegas. It's a very quick turnaround, especially when you're talking about the WNBA. They, are going from their season to the All-Star weekend straight into the Olympics if they were selected. But looking at this breakdown, 85-64, obviously Team USA getting the best of that matchup. But when you really dive into this, I mean, this is beautiful basketball from every single angle that you would want. Look at that three-point percentage, 41% to Australia's 24%. When you talk about rebounds, defensively, this team did really well. 46-34. The assists, which means team basketball was at its peak. That ball was constantly moving. The court awareness for all of the women that were on the floor together at any particular time was there, and it was absolutely top tier. So the turnovers pretty much evenly keeled there, but I think that when you look at all of the things that you want done well on a basketball team, rebounding, assists, taking care of that ball as much as you possibly can, or at least being even with your opponent in that, going ahead and hitting your wide open three balls and you're getting those shots in. They did every single thing that you could want. If you're a coach right now and you had a checklist, you're checking off every single box. Team USA did that to advance to the gold medal game. So congratulations to them, and it's definitely going to be a game to watch as they play on Sunday for the gold.
Absolutely. And, actually, I think we can start off this conversation now. As I'm watching, I'm like, that 1996 team that was so instrumental in all of this kicked it off, literally kicked off everything that we're seeing right now, including the WNBA. How do you think that this team stacks up against that 1996 team?
I hate playing these games. We do it all the time in the NBA. It drives me nuts because it's different eras. I think that when you talk about it, you also have to look at the landscape of what international basketball was and that level of competition. It's hard for me to go against these legends just because outside of what they were able to accomplish in the Olympics, you spoke to it, Alicia, what this team did for the future of the WNBA, the future of women's basketball is far greater than any medal. So for that, I will still and always give them the edge. And that's no knock to what we're seeing happen on the floor right now, what we've seen happen on the floor in previous Olympics. But I always have to give credit to the pioneers who have made what we're seeing now even possible. So for me, I'm going to go with the legends, and I'm going to go ahead with the nostalgia, but not because I think rosters were better and all that, just because of what they did and what that meant for what happened after them. They'll always get a little bit of the upper echelon, if you will.
Yeah, I 1000% agree that they will always get that. But if you also look at what led up to those games, they did a world tour. And at the end of everything, and at the end where they got the gold, they were 60-0 in that tour. And when you look at that dominance in that team and what they meant to the whole sport of basketball, and not just women's basketball, like the things that they sparked during that Olympic run and tour, I can't say a team that could see them because of what they accomplished during that time. So I think the answer for me is always going to be that 1996 team, not only because of what they accomplished, but also the dominance that they had.
Yeah.
I mean, who can say that they were 60-0 in that kind of run? I mean, this team is amazing that we're watching on so many levels, but they also just lost to Team WNBA in the All-Star game. And yes, that was in the All-Star game. I get it. But when you look at that team in the 1996 team and you see that they literally did not drop a game in that whole tour, I mean, it just shows how dominant, how amazing, how impactful and how historic that team was. And I'm always going to go with with that 1996
I know
team
that's
because
right. One time
of
for
what
the
they
90s.
did.
One time for the 90s. But listen, we're going to be talking a lot more basketball after the break. So don't move because we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to We Need to Talk Now, right here on CBS Sports Network. And before the break, we were giving flowers where flowers are due to Team USA, who got the best, and I do mean the best, of Australia. If we can go ahead and throw that box score up there one more time for the people who might have missed it in the first block. We are advancing to the gold medal game on Sunday, where we will face either France or Belgium. It is yet to be decided. But Alicia, looking forward, to Sunday. It's going to be an early game. It's going to be even earlier for you on the West Coast. It's 9:30 a.m. my time, which means it's 6:30 a.m. your time. I do not envy you coming Sunday. That's insane. But Belgium, Team USA beat Belgium 87-74 in the group stage. We obviously have not faced France this time around. I mean, what are you taking away from the potential matchup or rematch with Belgium or the matchup with France?
Well, what I'm really looking at more than just a matchup with these teams is just how our team is playing right now, how locked in they are. You can see that they are firing on all cylinders. The team chemistry has definitely improved tenfold. We're having a lot more players contribute that weren't contributing before. You're really seeing a balance of a team. You're seeing that dominance that we know that we have and that we have had throughout the games, but just really come together at the right time for that. So, not to belittle anybody that we're about to play and not to say that they're not going to be prepared or anything like that. But I really just, when I'm looking at this team, I see a gold medal winning team. And that is what I'm really excited about as we go into this gold medal match.
Yeah, I mean, France would be interesting, right? France national team, like I said, Team USA has not seen France this time around. You can see all of the group stages. Also, I'm sorry, this is what the French national team has faced thus far. But it could be interesting because obviously we do know that Team USA on the men's side is facing France. They are the home team, the host team, whatever it is you want to refer to them as. It's going to be a battle tomorrow between the men when we talk about France and Team USA. But it would be kind of crazy to get that same matchup on the women's side. But I wonder if for you, knowing how you face Belgium or how we face Belgium already, would it be more of a comfort to face Belgium in the gold medal game than it would to face France, a team that you don't have that same familiarity with, and also the team that is playing for their country, the country in which the Olympics are happening right now in?
No, I think anytime you've already played a team, you have an advantage when you play them again, right? Belgium could say the same thing too. That, when they played, because they played us really scrappy. They came, I remember they came back in that game. They had a really good run during that game. A lot of momentum was coming their way. Obviously we still prevailed, but seeing that we've already seen them before is a plus and a minus in some ways because they've seen us too, right? And then having France come in, having all the home team behind you. Can you imagine all those people like cheering for you? Obviously, we'll have a little bit of love in there, but all those people cheering for you. I mean, it just has to. There's some kind of magic that comes in when that happens, especially when you're in the middle of the Olympics, in your hometown or whatever it may be. There's definitely some magic in there. But what I will say that Team USA has said this entire run is that they have a healthy respect for anyone that they play because they know at the end of the day, this is the Olympics. You are there to win for your country. And especially like if we play somebody like France, who is literally in their country, it definitely is something that we have to have a healthy amount of respect for when we go into play.
Well, listen, that game is Sunday, like I said, 9:30 Eastern, or if you're Alicia and you're on the West Coast, that's 6:30 in the morning, rising with the roosters and all of the other animals that wake up nice and early.
Well, actually, I'm actually going to be in New York because we
Oh,
have a We Need to Talk broadcast show. So I will be taking a red eye into New York and going straight to record our reaction show. So
so
a little
are
bit
you going to
more
be watching
time.
on the plane or?
I'm definitely going to be watching on the plane,
Okay.
and I have it on my phone as well. So when I'm in that taxi on the way from JFK, I will be watching to make sure that I'm ready for that reaction show, and I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be a good one.
You
It's
got
going to be a good one.
all the steps already in order. But listen, a few days from now, the Olympics will have come and gone, and we've been, gearing up for this. We've been talking about it. It seems like it's just flying by, but that won't mean basketball is over. The WNBA season will be resuming just days after our girls hopefully hoist the gold medal. But we have to also look ahead to 2028 because when we talk about the resuming the WNBA season, we're talking about a lot of names. The Rookie of the Year race is going to resume between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, who right now I believe are neck and neck for that award right before the hiatus happened. But we also have to look ahead to the 2028 Olympics, because there are going to be some names on this roster in Paris that we won't see in 2028. Diana Taurasi being probably the biggest name. She already made it clear in an interview earlier on during this Olympic run that this will be her final Olympics. I mean, she's seen a lot of them and she's had a lot of success in them. But with her being removed from the roster come 2028 and some other names that may or may not make the cut come around, because now that time, you'll have Angel Reese, you'll have Caitlin Clark, a name that a lot of people were surprised was not on the roster this year. I mean, what does that roster look like to you? And more importantly, whose spot will be taken when you fill in with the newbies?
Well, when you look at this rookie class and what they have meant to the WNBA and what they've already had an impact in the WNBA, the things that they've already done, that there's going to be the next time around when we have the Olympics, so much competition for those roster spots. And yes, we're not going to have DT next time around. She hasn't had the best Olympic Games this time around either. But when you look at that, I'm definitely looking to see Caitlin Clark on there. A lot of people thought, as you said, that she should be there already. But Angel Reese, she's definitely going to be on that roster. She already said she has her eyes on that spot. And I can see both of them coming in and contributing right away as well, with some of the key players that are, still going to be there from this team that are obviously dominant, the Asia Wilsons, the Brianna Stewarts, that are already going to be there. I can see them coming in, making an impact, and being just as dominant as the team that we are seeing now. And when I think even about the collegiate players that are coming up. I mean, there's just an endless amount of years that I can see us being dominant in the Olympics. Juju Watkins comes to mind. I can see her out on that court right now, let alone when she's actually in the league. So, man, endless potential with the people that we have in the league and the people that we have coming into the league, and also just the players that we know and see that they're going to be impacting the Olympics for years to come.
So let's play a little game, because obviously we can't predict the future. We don't know who's going to come out of the draft. So let's ignore the draft and the future drafts for right now, okay? Let's just say the draft ended this past draft and there's no more drafts after that. If you look at the current roster that we have in Paris, if you can throw that graphic on the screen one more time, if you had to think about who's currently in the WNBA, who's not representing Team USA, what names on this roster do you think will not be on that list come 2028, and who would be taking their spot?
Well, listen, anything can happen, right? We've seen that time and time again. But I was so happy to see Ka get on this roster. But I definitely think that she's somebody that I could see being replaced in the future on this team. She's a phenomenal player, no doubt. And so happy that she made it. But I can definitely see her as being one of the players that could be replaced. Jewel Lloyd, fantastic, phenomenal, will always be a legend in this game and is in the game currently as a legend. But I could see in the future her being replaced on some level. And I don't know if I'm going to say straight to straight players being replaced, but I definitely, and I'm just going to say it again, and I know this sounds so cliche based on the conversations that we've had, but I can see both Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark being plugged in very easily to this team. I also want to say Aaliyah Boston. She's somebody that she's a fantastic player in her second year, was a number one overall pick, and I can see her playing on this team very, very easily in the future. So those are the three players that I can see. And if I'm looking at this roster, in accordance with DT already saying that she's not going to be on the team, Ka and Jewel are definitely two players that I could see being changed. But again, who knows? Anything can happen in this league. We've seen it time and time again.
Yeah, 4 years is a long ways away. I mean, it's long,
Yeah.
but it's not. But a lot can happen. But listen, we are going to have a live reaction show Sunday after the gold medal game. So make sure you guys have your notifications on for YouTube, because that is where we will be coming to you from. And Alicia, we are taking a quick break, but when we come back, we're getting off the court and we're heading to the track. I know you're very excited about this. So we will be right back after this break.
Welcome back to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. And Ashley, we are going from the court to the track. I'm so excited about this, like you said, because there have been some amazing, amazing events. And we're going to start off with Tara Davis Woodhall. She got the gold in the women's long jump. It's the first time that she got gold. And it was just phenomenal to see a viral moment happen right at the end. Her husband, who is a Paralympian, Hunter Woodhall, she went and jumped into his arms, and literally he said afterwards that she had been through hell and back to get that gold. And it was just a moment to see. And now they've gone viral as a couple. They're really, really cute. I actually love that we're seeing a lot of these husbands that are supporting their wives, or even just their partners. It's been amazing to see. So that was a very cute moment. But obviously, the most important part was that she got the gold in that long jump. So I was a long jumper, but unfortunately I did not make any Olympic team because I wasn't the greatest.
Yeah.
but it's definitely a very, very hard event. So seeing somebody train so hard to get that first gold, it was an amazing thing to see. And then Gabby Thomas, she won gold in the 200 meters, and people have been talking so much about her win and how she has just worked so hard,
Harvard
getting bronze,
grad.
silver.
Gabby
Thomas. I was
Thomas.
going to say, so
yes.
Harvard grad. And also, I mean, don't forget that public health master's from the University of Texas as well.
It's kind of like running track as her side hustle, essentially. You know what I mean? Like
no, she actually did say that. She says that she looks at track as like a part-time thing for her.
Crazy.
Which I think is so powerful, because it shows, like, we always see these athletes and how they're training, and it's like they need balance. They need to live their lives and actually do other things besides track. And I just thought it was powerful that she even said that, because it's kind of like a taboo thing for an athlete to say, like, oh, I have other focuses. And she was like, no, I actually do. Not only, do I have all these amazing degrees, but she also volunteers at a clinic for people that do not have healthcare, can't afford healthcare. And so, in addition to becoming this Olympic gold medalist and training for that, she was doing all these other amazing things too.
And
So it's been
also,
great to see that story.
also think about, I mean, just the preparation that goes into preparing for the Olympics. We talk about this constantly. A sporting event that goes on every 4 years takes that long to prepare for. You're going through trials, tribulations, you're going through trials to go ahead and qualify, you're going through injuries, you're going through practices, you're going through rehabs, you're going through setback. I mean, there's so much that happens to lead up to this very point. So to be able to balance and manage all that comes with for preparing for this moment, while also going to Harvard, going to the University of Texas, volunteering at a clinic. I mean, her, Beyonce, we all got the same 24 hours in a day. Maximize your 24 hours a day, because if Gabby can do it, if Beyonce can do it, you can do it too.
I know that's right. I mean, inspiration on all levels. And another thing, Ashley, because we've actually talked about this on prior pods, another thing that she prioritizes is sleep. She said that sleep was one of the biggest things that helped her in training for this gold medal. So in addition to everything she's doing, she also gets sleep in there, which seems impossible.
Yeah, it's like
It seems impossible.
maybe she doesn't have 24 hours a day. Maybe she has like a couple extra hours, because I know me,
Yeah.
I'm struggling to get my 6.
Yes. How can we get on the list?
I
How can we get
know.
on the list for the extra hours?
Let me know.
But she's not the only one, because Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, she also said in her preparation, she has to get sleep. She goes to sleep, she said, at 8 o'clock every night. And it shows, because she is out here dominating. She won gold in the 400-meter hurdles, and she's the first person to win 2 golds in that. And another thing is, she set another world record, and she has broken her own world record 6 times. Literally, she is running against herself in every single way. She has been so dominant in this. It has been phenomenal to watch. And Ashley, can we call her the GOAT? Is there any part? Are
Absolutely.
we at the time of saying that she is the GOAT?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Sydney. I have been for going on 8 years now. I've been following her on Instagram forever, and I just love not only her dedication to her craft, I love her family, I love, her faith. There's just so many things about her that are just likable. But I mean, I think when you start breaking your own records and you do that continuously, I feel like that's safe to put you in the GOAT category. You're not running against other competition. You're literally out there trying to best yourself, which means that you are in a lane, in a field, running your own race. There's no one to the left of you. There's no one to the right of you. And if that's not what the GOAT is, then I don't know what qualifies anyone to be the GOAT anymore.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, literally, you are challenging previous versions of yourself.
Yeah.
And that is fantastic. Another thing that makes her the GOAT to me is when she's training, she's actually running other races to increase her strength, her endurance, to push herself even more, which is a testament to her breaking those world records. She's not just training in the one event to make sure that she perfects that. She's doing other events to increase that event, essentially, and becoming really good at those other events too. People haven't really seen her run in other ways. I mean, we've seen it in relays and that kind of thing, but she makes sure that throughout her training that she is doing these other competitions to strengthen and still and continue to break those records that she has broken. So, I mean, if that's not a GOAT too, I don't even know what to say. And I don't see anybody challenging her in any future, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we just saw her. She handled that with ease.
Yeah.
I know it's not easy. Yeah, I know it's not easy at all to get to that point. But when you're watching her, it's just like she's floating to that finish. And so I can't see that anybody is going to challenge her in any way in the near future. So we're going to be calling her a GOAT for years to come.
I also want to show love. I know we spoke about it briefly when we were first talking about Tara, but to the husbands. I mean, we've seen some really, and partners, I don't want to assume everyone's married. We've seen some really incredible moments, especially in track. I feel like track's really where I've seen it the most of just, husbands, partners celebrating their significant other. I saw Sydney's husband put the crown on her, little crown that she was actually holding in her hand when she had her arms spread out with the Olympic flag. And I just think that's amazing. I think that so many times, I think we see women front and center supporting these athletes, and, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, you're very familiar with the wives of some of the biggest names in sports. And I think that it's very cool seeing that in reverse. And I think it's something that we don't really get to see often, especially in American sports. So I think it's very cool when the Olympics come around and it's such a big stage and you see couples from all over the world and, they're celebrating wherever they may place, just being there in the first place, qualifying to be there in the first place. It's just a very cool moment to see not only just the families, but that special person celebrating with them. So shout out to all the significant others. Front and center. I see t-shirts with the faces on it. I see hats with the faces on it. I've seen crowns. I've seen temporary tattoos. I've seen real tattoos. It's very cool. I love it. I love to see it. So shout out to everybody who's been front and center rooting on their men, their women, and everything in between. That's very cool.
Yeah, very cool. And I also love that we're seeing a lot of athletes that are with each other. Like they're definitely like, if you look at Simone, she's with an NFL player.
Yeah, he got
if you
excused from camp.
Yeah, he got excused from camp. If you look at Tara, or her husband is a Paralympian, and they're going to start the Paralympics very soon. And you can just go down the line. I just really like that synergy too,
Noah
because
Lyles,
they really
his
understand.
girlfriend's a sprinter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they really understand what each other's schedules are and what they're doing and how they're training towards getting that medal or whatever they are doing in their sport. And so I would just really love to see, I don't know, the way that they support each other through their vested interests in athletics. I just think that that is a really cool thing to watch too.
Yeah, definitely cool. We love seeing it. And speaking of things we love to see, the U.S. women's national team in soccer has been killing it. There were a lot of questions about whether or not this team was even going to get this far for whatever reason. People were doubting because of all the turmoil that was happening behind the scenes, names that weren't on the roster, coaching changes, you name it. Team USA has gone through it. But tomorrow, the gold medal final between the U.S. and Brazil will kick off, and we are going to preview that next. Welcome back, everybody, to We Need to Talk Now, right here on CBS Sports Network. And before the break, I previewed the gold medal game between Team USA and Brazil. Now, some people might have seen this coming. Some people might have not seen this coming. I'm going to tell you why in a second, because Team USA has had an unlikely journey to this very destination. First of all, Emma Hayes, who has only been the head coach for 3 months. That's 9 games in soccer, everyone. 9 games, and here we are playing for the gold. She had this to say about the matter. Quote, "I've said this all along. The reason I want to play the team together for as long as possible is because I want them to develop that. I want them to suffer. I want them to have that moment because I do not believe you can win without it." Now, it's been incredible just to watch how this team has rallied around her in such a short window of time. And we've spoke about this several times on this show, Alicia, specifically most recently with Jenny. And it's just kind of amazed a lot of people who have doubted how serious the U.S. women's national team and the federation behind it take soccer specifically when it comes to the Olympics. She spoke about that, and a lot of people's eyebrows were raised when Emma Hayes kind of came into the fold at the 11th hour, if you will. Making a coaching change that late and that close to the Olympics is kind of unheard of, but It looks like they knew what they were doing. She is the woman for the job. I mean, what do you make of this entire just roller coaster era that is Emma Hayes?
Well, it's absolutely fantastic. Listen, I've never played soccer game in my life, and I definitely want to play for Emma Hayes because of how she brings out the best in her athletes. When you look at that quote, a lot of people had a real big problem with the word suffer. Like, I want these players to suffer so they know. But what she's speaking about in that quote is that, times are going to get tough when you are in the Olympics. It's not going to be an easy route. And she wanted to make sure that these players were ready for whatever. And we saw that in the last two games, right? They both went into extra time. They had to battle it out to get to this point. And so when she says that, she just wants to make sure that when times are tough, they come together and they get it done. And that's what they've done in these last two matches. She actually introduced the team to an ultra marathoner named Courtney Duwaller. And that ultra marathoner talked about pain caves. And that's when you go to like the physical point where your body just cannot keep going. And each time that you go through run, it increases your capacity to handle physical exhaustion. And when she had that ultra marathoner come in and speak, it just really affected the team to know that like they're going to have these moments and they're going to have to get through it. And you saw that in the last two games. The last two matches, you're certainly going to see it in the match for gold. And she's really set up these players with the best capacity to be able to push through and really get that gold.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're going to have their hands full because Brazil beat Spain 4-2, which when Jenny was on the show, she spoke very highly of Spain and the Spain national team. And I mean, when we talk about Team USA specifically, we got to dive into some things. The front three is called triple espresso. And as somebody who, I don't know about you, Alicia, I'm obsessed with that Sabrina Carpenter song, Espresso. So I love the name. Every time it comes on, I just like run it back over and over again. Different show though. We'll save that for another time.
I'm here for it.
But the midfield, Lindsey Horan has looked slow. There's clearly some issues that are still there. And when you look again at just the legends on the Brazilian team and specifically going back to what they were able to do to a very good Spain team, anything that sticks out to you that you're a little like, I'm a little weary about this tomorrow?
Well, I think the return of Marta is definitely something that we need
Brazilian
to talk about
legend.
because Brazilian legend. She's been out because of, the red card, the suspension and everything that happened. But, when you look at the team, the Brazilian team, a lot of people did not have them in this match, but they came together and they've been scrappy. They've had amazing goalkeeping that has been impressing. The physicality has also been very, very impressive when you watch them play. And, Marta being out has really kind of brought them together. That kind of like scrappiness and getting it done. They've definitely had to do that as a team. And so Marta coming back could be amazing for them, right? Because of the legend that she is, what she obviously brings to that team. Also, this being her last match, as they said that she was going to retire from,
But it also
the Olympics
marks 20 years since her first Olympic appearance. So talk about full circle.
Right. So all of that could be very powerful for the team. But then also, she is a legend, so do not get this twisted. But having somebody come back into the fold that wasn't there during two matches or the matches where you have gotten to this gold medal match, it could kind of mess a little bit of things up for them too. I mean, the chemistry and just how they've had to come together without her. When you're operating in that as a team, it can be a little tricky bringing somebody back in, even a legend like Marta. So that's going to be very interesting to watch.
It's definitely going to be interesting, and we will also be going live on YouTube following that match as well. So we'll have a reaction for you immediately after the game. We're going live, we're going network, we're going recorded. It's the Olympics. We got a lot of stuff to get to you. There's only a few days left before closing ceremonies. So we're going to be sharing all of our thoughts as they happen in real time. But we're almost at the end of our show, at least today's show. Like I said, we got a bunch of shows left later in the week. But when we come back, we are going to go ahead and recap what has already happened so far in the Olympics. We'll call it our Olympic conclusion. Don't move.
Welcome back to We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. And we have so much more Olympics to cover. But Ashley, we're going to wrap the show up by talking about our favorite Olympic moments so far. What stands out to you the most?
Oh, for me, it has to be gymnastics. We keep speaking about it. We've spoken about it, I feel like, ad nauseum, but I'm going to keep going. I just love multiple things about that. One, how many different young women there are, women, I should say, for young women, younger women to look up to, was just so beautiful to see. So many different colors and creeds and walks of life. The redemption story of Simone Biles, we know how hard it was for her in the Tokyo Olympics. Just seeing her come back stronger, better than ever. Seeing all the other GOATs in the crowd, from Serena to Tom Brady, just being in awe of Simone, Team USA as a whole. And just also seeing the sisterhood and just celebrating, other young women in the sport who are getting their first gold medal and getting their first opportunity on the podium in general, which is really cool. It was a great way to see just a combination of competitiveness, redemption, and most importantly, sisterhood. I think it was a beautiful thing to showcase the rest of the world. So that's hands down my favorite moment.
I could not agree more. The first all-black podium in gymnastics history, when we saw that and them just bowing down to Rebecca Andrade, that moment in itself was just magical to watch. I'll never forget it as long as I live, just seeing that. Another thing that I loved seeing was the rugby sevens getting the bronze. Not something that we normally medal in, but to see them be successful in that and get in medal on, obviously the Olympic stage, it just brought so many eyes to the game of rugby, and definitely something that I love to see. And one moment, if I had to whittle it down, in outside of Team USA for sure, is Julian Alfred getting the gold for her country. I mean, it was the first ever Olympic gold for St. Lucia.
Very cool.
When you think about so cool. And when you think about the Olympics and what it means to countries, what it means to these athletes to represent their countries, and to come in and literally get the gold, which is like the epitome of everything for St. Lucia that has never had it. I mean, you're talking about a population of around 200,000 people that are all just so incredibly proud of what you've done. And it's a first for your country. That was just absolutely phenomenal to watch, and definitely one of the top moments for me in this Olympics.
Yeah, a lot of firsts, a lot of redemption, a lot of record breaking, whether that be your own record. Sydney, we're talking to you, girl. But I think that the Olympics in general is just such a cool time of year, because you see not only the talent you're familiar with, but the talent you're unfamiliar with, and what their success means to the people who are familiar with them. But there's a lot of gold medals, or a few gold medals left to hand out. Obviously, men's basketball, we have soccer tomorrow, women's basketball on Sunday, and hopefully we can do a nice clean sweep as the Olympics are coming to a close. But this show is also coming to a close. We want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we want to remind you to tap in with us on social, YouTube, set those notifications so you can go ahead and not miss a moment. And also, if you want to listen to us instead, we can be found wherever you get your favorite podcasts. That includes Spotify, that includes Apple. We have a QR code that we always post, so you can go ahead and scan that, and it will pop us up wherever you get your podcasts. But until next show, which will just be tomorrow, this has been We Need to Talk Now, presented by AT&T. For myself and Alicia J, that's all. Bye, guys.
See you tomorrow.